With E3 2021 right around the corner, the wait for Breath of the Wild 2 news might finally be over. If that's the case, it'll be great to get some real info on the game, but I want to share some predictions I've had first. In the 2 years since the first trailer, I've had a few guesses about the game that just weren't worthy of getting their own full-length videos. But if they end up being right, I'll definitely kick myself if I don't upload them somewhere. So that brings me to today's video. These predictions don't really have a category and are just miscellaneous ideas that I've had. Please remember that this is just for fun, and anything I say here should be taken with a grain of salt. With that said, these aren't totally random guesses either. They're either gut instincts or conclusions I came to after piecing together clues, so I think I deserve some credit if I end up being right about any of them. With all that out of the way, this is FP Productions, and here are 5 predictions I have for Breath of the Wild 2. I'll start this video off with a bold, very specific prediction. To me, it's pretty obvious that they're not just going to slap the number 2 onto the end of the title. I mean, this is Zelda, not Mario. But as of now, we still don't know what the game is actually called. Well, ever since shortly after E3 2019, I've had the idea that Heart of Malice could be a fitting title. What first got me thinking this is that the trailer begins and ends with the sound of a beating heart, which obviously means that that's going to be important somehow. The Malice, first seen in Breath of the Wild, also gets a lot of screen time, and it seems like Link and Zelda are pursuing its source, or its heart, you might say. So the title Heart of Malice would have a double meaning, referring both to the literal heartbeat and the figurative sense of the source or origin of Hyrule's malice. What made me more convinced that my title idea could actually come true is that a while back there were rumors of the game being called World of Malice. Now, I have no idea where the rumors came from or how credible they were, but this was so close to my title that it caught my attention. If Nintendo was really considering that title, I could see World being tweaked or translated to Heart. Of course, a rumor really doesn't prove anything, and this is obviously a case of confirmation bias, but I still thought this was interesting and wanted to share my idea. I could also see the game being named after the infamous Green Hand, but since we have no idea what that's called, I couldn't really come up with a title based on it. So Heart of Malice will have to do now. My second prediction has more to do with the plot. This is more of a gut feeling than anything, but I think that after the events seen in the trailer, either Link or Zelda will be trapped underground for the duration of the game, and the story will be centered around reuniting while defeating the evil threat. Now, I'm not predicting that Zelda will be playable, because I think that's really a 50-50 at this point, but I think this will be the plot either way. The two characters will reunite at the very end to take down the main villain together, and that'll be that. Again, I don't really have any specific evidence for this one, but I feel pretty confident that something like this will be how the plot is structured. If it's true, I really hope Zelda has her own full quest and isn't just a damsel this time. Tying in with my idea for the plot, I think a lot of the game's main quest, if not the majority of it, will take place in large underground caverns. I could see this being an entire second overworld, like the Dark World in A Link to the Past, or just simply where the dungeons are located. But however it plays out specifically, I'm confident that it's not just the trailer scene that happens underground. A game's first trailer usually showcases the general tone and setting, so it wouldn't make sense to feature an underground chamber so heavily only to use it in a small part at the beginning of the game. The way I'm imagining it, the world we know and love from Breath of the Wild will be used mainly for side quests and will be where you find the entrances to the underground areas, whereas the actual main objectives will happen mostly underground. I think this would be really fun, and I still want to make a full video on it if I find time. I'm not confident that dungeons will be back at the level they were in olden times, but I do think Nintendo will make an effort to do better than the Divine Beasts. This shot from the trailer is really all the evidence I need. This building is nowhere to be found in Breath of the Wild, and looks very similar to dungeon entrances from the original Legend of Zelda. Both of them have wide, gaping entrance with statues in front, and for this to be in the trailer, it has to be hinting at something. Even if the dungeons don't end up being as complex or creative as they used to be, I think they'll at least be longer than the Divine Beasts, and a bit closer to what we used to have. My final prediction is another gameplay one, this time revolving around what the green hand will do. I think a lot of people have guessed this already, but I'll go ahead and predict that it will be used to control Malice in some way. In the trailer, we see Link lift his hand, immediately followed by a shot of the Malice shooting upward in the same direction. This seems to suggest that Link involuntarily did this with his newfound hand powers. If Malice is as important to the game as I've suggested, it would make sense for the game's new major item to revolve around it. I think Link will be able to do things like move it out of the way, or even take control of Malice-type enemies. For example, maybe it could control Guardians in a similar fashion to the statues from Twilight Princess. This would create a ton of gameplay possibilities, and I'd love to see it. Well, those are my 5 big predictions for the impending sequel. It's entirely possible that we won't even see it at E3, which would be a huge disappointment, but that's no reason not to share this video anyway. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my predictions, as well as any that you have. This is FP Productions, and I'll see you guys next time.